Just quick sidetrack. You can literally see the city of Philadelphia from like where my house is. And that's like probably 15, 20 miles away. I just thought it was awesome. Alright, so people are warming their cars up as if it was winter. Okay, so let's get to the topic, everybody. So, I've never been known as a gamer or anything, but I've always really enjoyed video games, you know? So, I would usually have a collection since childhood, since probably, let's see, I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna take it way back. Let's see, let me find a nice bush here that will, yeah, there we go. I'm in like a church back lot. But there's some nice bushes here that I can break the wind. Oh, I'm a child. Alright, so I got into video games probably actually in Ukraine, way back in the day. I don't know, I was probably somewhere between like 6, you know, starting at around 6 years old. I would basically, I think my first thing was my dad would get me like these little Game & Watch things. They were like old Soviet things with like Soviet cartoon characters and stuff like that. And that was really cool. I enjoyed those. Let's see, after that, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like doing this on the fly. I was just walking and I'm like, what should the topic be? And it turned out to be video games because like I started remembering all this stuff. So when I got a little bit older, I would guess like around 7 years old, 8 years old, I discovered arcades. There was an arcade across the street from my school, and I would always go there almost every day after school. Sometimes before school, sometimes I would skip school. But yeah, there was this awesome arcade. Most of the games were like, nothing was from America or anything. Remember, this is like mid 80s, so most of the arcades were like knockoffs of American arcades. So I can't even tell you like what am I most nostalgic about. But I definitely really enjoyed playing U-Boat. So like you had to put this big old mask on you and like lean into it and, you know, sink U-boats. I really enjoyed like helicopter ones, kind of like Jungle Strike. There was a whole bunch of video games on arcades and pinballs, and honestly I can't give you names of them, but they were all pretty much based on or around video games in America. So and there was a lot of like original, you know, USSR video games that came from like all sorts of different countries, you know, that were occupied by Russia at the time. So yeah, arcades, that's where I started as a wee little lad in Ukraine. So after I got a little bit older, this is still in the 80s. Remember, I left Ukraine in 1991, so pretty much everything I'm telling you, you know, I'll let you know once I'm in Canada. But so yeah, then I discovered that there were these computer rooms where you just go in, you pay them per hour, and you get to play video games on computers. And the whole room was filled with kids that were just playing video games. And that really blew my mind. Like, to me, that was like, holy majoli, you know? So, man, I'm literally inside the bush here. So, anyway, so yeah, these computer rooms, I mean, I've seen this stuff online. I think I've even seen a couple in Canada when we moved in the 90s. But yeah, it was really cool going there. So I spent a lot of my time in those computer rooms, just playing like weird helicopter games, you know, just shooting things. So that was awesome. And there were no like consoles, like house, you know, consoles, home consoles to play in Ukraine, especially while it was occupied by USSR. So it was kind of rough. That's all I had. And my dad definitely hooked me up with Game & Watch type games, you know, he traveled a lot, so he would bring me these really cool things. I still have one from my childhood. It's at home. Maybe I'll put it in right here, show you what it looks like. It's like a little seal that has to balance a ball. It's pretty cool. So anywho, my video game journey continues. Once we moved to Canada, I had this pen pal. He lived in Canada as well, and when we left Ukraine, we went to visit that family because my dad was friends with his father and all that. So the cool thing about that is that was my first official like introduction to home consoles. And this also answers what my favorite video game is. We went to this guy's house, and my first console that I was really into was Sega Genesis, because that's what this kid had. I think his name was Andrew. Anyway, after we got like acquainted with them, their house was like the house from E.T., like that family's, Elliot's family's house. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that. To me, it was like, oh man, America, it's just like in the TV. So anyway, he shows me this Sega Genesis. Never heard of it, never, I mean, I knew you could play at home, but you know, I was like 11 by this point. 10 years old actually. And so, hold on, give me 1 second. Man, it's so windy, guys, like my fingers are falling off, but I'm doing this for you. The story continues. Thanks for sticking around and listening to this stuff. I know I'm kind of rushing it, and I'm a bit of a scatterbrain, so my storytelling is, that's why I have trouble with live streams, because there's too much going on, so it's kind of hard for me to focus. But I'll get used to it. So, Sega Genesis, man. And the game that he has that resonated with me the most was Revenge of Shinobi. Oh my god, I love that freaking game. Revenge of Shinobi, man. Hopefully I'm putting up a little picture of the game. Those of you that are watching this are probably gamers, and you know, you're watching this because of the topic. But yeah, Revenge of Shinobi, I got obsessed with that game. After he showed me that Genesis and his Revenge of Shinobi, I was like, done. They're all hanging out, they're talking, the kid Andrew, like, he's doing stuff. I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna be in your room playing Revenge of Shinobi, you all fuck off. So, excuse my French. Try not to curse. So, I basically, we stayed there, I think, for about a week, so I would just go into this kid's bedroom as soon as he'd wake up and leave to do his school or whatever. I just rocked Shinobi. And, so yeah, to this day, it's my favorite video game. And as you can imagine, that's what started, like, my love for cartridges and retro video games at this point. Then it was brand new, so it's kind of cool. So yeah, played that quite heavily, and that's it. That was my introduction to video games in Canada as a 10-year-old boy. Alright, I'm back. The story continues. Sorry, I really needed to warm my right hand up. It was literally like I couldn't feel it. It's cold out. So, alright, so that was my introduction to Sega Genesis and my favorite game of all time, Revenge of Shinobi, which I think makes it the second installment. I don't remember. But I also enjoy Shadow Dancer, and there's 3 of those. But anyway, so enough of that. So when we moved, finally found our apartment in Canada. We lived in Ontario, which I love. Freaking Toronto, Ontario in Canada. Amazing, 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 amazing place. I miss it so much. But so at this point, we still couldn't really afford to get me anything as far as home consoles go. So I still went to arcades. That's when I got introduced to Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, all the, you know, Turtles in Time, I mean Ninja Turtles, whatever, that arcade cabinet, X-Men, a whole ton of, I can't even like list it all. I played all of them. I loved arcades, and I went over. smalls. But anyway, so with that said, my neighbor downstairs was a good friend of mine in our apartment building. They had a Nintendo Entertainment System, the original NES. And holy shit, did I hang out at his house a lot. That's where I got introduced to Nintendo. That's where I got introduced to Super Mario Brothers, Dr. Mario. Oh my god, anyway, the list goes on. You guys don't need to hear the lists of games. Whatever was new at the time, they would usually try to get those games. And we played those, man. So at this point, you know, I'm like 11 years old in Canada. You know, it's the 90s now, 1991 to be specific. And yeah, playing Nintendo and enjoying it. So I think maybe a year goes by. My dad was starting to do way better, and they took me to Toys R Us. Oh my god. Toys R Us is a whole other topic I'm going to talk about, and how much it meant to me as a kid. Just imagine like leaving USSR where everything's suppressed, where like all the toys are just crap, you know? Like everything was crap, man. All we had was like, they just made like tanks and stupid military vehicles for kids to play with so they can freaking overtake other countries. So anyway, so you can imagine how I fell in love with video games and toys and stuff like that, leaving fucking USSR. So I saw a tiger saw a man. Okay, so alright, so we're up to Nintendo, right? So anyway, we go to Toys R Us, and at the time, like, you couldn't really just pick up whatever you wanted off the shelf, like video games or anything. They had like cards, so you pick up, like, you slide out the card and take it to the register, and they bring you out the video game or the console or whatever the heck you want, you know? So man, that's a nice little Volkswagen Rabbit, or an old Golf. Oh no. Look how cool that is. I gotta take a picture of that for my, and that's my car right there, Jetta, except mine's white. For my Instagram, hold on. Okay, picture taken. You guys can tell I'm into a lot of things. Alright, so where was I? I don't even know anymore. Toys R Us. So, this is when the Game Boy was out. I mean, I think the Game Boy came out in like late 80s, I don't remember. But I got mine in, I think, 1992. I was in middle school in Canada, and everybody had them. And I fell in love with it, man. And we went, I still remember like that feeling, which now turned into like nostalgia, which is amazing. But I'm walking through people's alleys. I hope no one's freaking out. But anyway, it's such an amazing memory, guys, at Toys R Us, getting that Game Boy. We give them the card, they give me that box, which I wish I kept that box, and the Game Boy. But yeah, so I got the Game Boy with the Tetris, and my dad got me the game Super Mario Land, right? I forget. I love that game too. So my favorite games for the Game Boy were Super Mario Land or World, I forget. F1 Racing. Oh, there's a dead squirrel on the ground. Sorry, dead animals, man. Freaks me out and makes me want to cry. So anyway, F1 Racing. It was like a really cool racing game. It was the first game that you can get with an adapter for 4 Game Boys to get together, and 4 players could play it at once. So I was in love with the Game Boy, man. I would get the magnifying glass and all sorts of things. So that was my first official, what do you call it? My first official, oh yeah, there we go. I'll go that way. Console and handheld, I guess. So, alright, let me warm up my right hand. Whew. Oh man, okay. Hand warmed up. Good to go. Alright, so where was I? I finally had the Game Boy thing, NES, all that. So, at this point, let's see, let's skip forward a little bit. That was still the only console I had for a while. I think I finally was able to get enough money to buy a used Sega Genesis, and then I had a Sega CD, played all sorts of games on all those things, so really enjoyed all that. And alright dude, you gonna turn around or watch me fucking talk to my phone? I guess watch me talk to my phone. Okay, so I have an audience member, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, Sega Genesis, blah blah blah. By now, obviously, like a few years have gone by. My collection of things has definitely accumulated. I finally got a... Dude, you wanna fucking get the hell out of here? My god. Damn! I'm touchy today. No, just kidding. So, N64, that was my next thing I got. I always dreamed of getting a 3DO, but that was like $500. The Need for Speed game, which I have today actually still. I really wanted to play that, but then the PlayStation came out, I had that. N64, quick little side story, it was the only game, I fell in love with Killer Instinct. I freaking loved that game. I loved, what was his name, Fulgore, the guy with the metal things, and he kind of looked like Predator. That was my favorite character. I kicked ass with it. At least I thought I did. I mean, I was better than most of my friends when we played it. But there was a video game / rental VHS store by my house. Like literally all I had to do was like go across the street. It was like a little mom and pop place, and they were having a tournament, Killer Instinct tournament on N64. And I entered. I think I told this story before, but anyway, long story short, I lost my first fight. This kid rolled on me like he was, oh my god, like, yeah, I thought I was good, but this guy knew every move, every code, every finishing move, all the combination moves. Like, he just rolled on me. I think I got like one punch on him, so he didn't get a perfect. So I was happy about that. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that's the end of that. I lost that. I was kind of embarrassed and all that. And I never really joined any other tournaments or anything like that. So, anyway, PlayStation era, I was in love with Twisted Metal, Crash Bandicoot, that one Final Fantasy game, I forget the number, but the one they just made a remake of, like literally in 2020. They like redid it. So yeah, that was the one and only RPG game that I played, other than come on, it's the freaking popular game. I don't know why it's out of my head now. Anyway, it'll come to me. Earthbound. Yeah, I played that too. Any hoozles, everybody. So yeah, PlayStation thing, was really into all the games for that. I was into Need for Speed. I was mostly into racing games, so Gran Turismo 2. My favorite game, like once PlayStation 2 came out, was Soul Calibur 2. I think by now I was living in America. We left Canada, and Soul Calibur 2 to this game is my absolute favorite fighting game. So if Shinobi is my favorite side-scroller adventure game, Soul Calibur 2 is my absolute favorite fighting game. It's a game that I would consider joining a tournament with, because I think I'm quite proficient with it. But yeah, me and my best friend Chris, we still play that to this day, whatever iteration of it is. Soul Calibur freaking 29 by now, who knows. But yeah, that game, I was in high school. Every day, man, we would all get together, me and my friends, and we would just play Soul Calibur 2 and, you know, do other things that high school kids do. So it was fun, a lot of good times. My friend Chris was actually so good at that game. Uh-oh, it's getting windy. Wind break. Hold on. Alright, Soul Calibur 2! So, my favorite character in that is Mitsurugi, of course. Samurai. I was really into martial arts in high school and in college. A little bit of ninjutsu, a little bit of aikido. Sorry, kendo. Mostly self-taught with my friends. We just read a lot of philosophies and practiced on each other. Beat each other up with wakasashis and other bamboo swords. It was fun and awesome. I was really into martial arts for philosophy though. The best fight you win is the one you don't have to lift a single finger. That was always something I've adhered to. But I'm pretty good at defending myself, so please don't try to punch me. You won't be happy. Anyway, that wasn't a threat. I probably won't do anything. I'll just be like, ow, and then like sue you or something. Or tie you up, lock you up in my basement and put a catheter in. Feed you hamburgers every day. That's how I do it. Please, someone help me. I punched Nas. It's been 5 years in his basement. Okay, sidetracked. Anyway, so my friend Chris still is, but back then he was so good with it that he would literally play people with his toes. Like he would put the controller down on the ground and push the buttons with his toes and beat people up like a mofo. So anyway, boy's got skills. Chris, if you're watching this, shout out, bro. I'm actually probably gonna do some live streams with him soon. Maybe even Soul Calibur games. Let me know if you guys are into that. But anyway. So yeah, my gaming story continues. Thank you guys for still sticking around and listening to this. I know a lot of you kind of watch this as you do other stuff. It's more of a podcast since, you know, it's just my stupid face. You don't really have to watch the screen. So, but yeah. So, let's see, where are we going from here? We're at PlayStation 2 era. Right, so I also had the Xbox. I bought the Xbox, the original one, strictly, and I repeat strictly. I bought Xbox for Soul Calibur 2 because it had my favorite comic book character, Spawn, in it. So if you bought the GameCube version, you would have Link from Zelda in it as a character. I forget which one. Was it... I don't know which one had Darth Vader in it, or that was like a later game. But anyway, the Xbox one had Spawn in it. And man, that just made my day, dude. Oh my god. So, let's see, what's next? I mean, that's about it. I think my last console... I mean, right now I still have the Wii U. These are the consoles I have left that I didn't sell. I still have my Wii U. I still have PlayStation 3. I still have the original PlayStation. I still have, of course, Sega Genesis. Got rid of my NES. I had 5 of them. Sold all of those. Doesn't really matter. I really want to get more of those classic minis, just so I can load them up with my favorite games and just keep it there. It was too many consoles that I had. So yeah. So yeah, those are the consoles I still have. I think I'm forgetting 1 or 2. But yeah, most of them are put away. But yeah, so that's where my gaming kind of went away. It was on PlayStation 2 because I finally went to college, and I really didn't really care about gaming at that point. That's when like PlayStation 3 started coming out and all that stuff, and I was more into like I said, like learning some things with martial arts, and I was in college, so I was really focusing on film and learning how all that good stuff is done. So yeah, let's see. So guys, this brings us to how I sold my first video game collection. This is basically all the stuff I had left over from all the stories I told you. Like, I had a pretty sizable, nice shelf full of video games from all those consoles: N64, NES, Super NES, Game Gear, Game Boy, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Xbox. Anyway, all those, everything I told you about. I had stacks of those, probably in total maybe 200 games. So I sold all of those. Well, I kept maybe 5 games, like, you know, for nostalgia reasons, which I don't think I have most of them except a couple. I'll tell you what I still have. But sold all that before I went to college. I sold all my games mostly, and most of my toy collection and other like pop culture stuff that I've collected. You know, action figures, figurines, all sorts of stuff. So sold everything. Pretty much my collection I kept a little bit, but basically 98% of everything I sold. Went to college and really enjoyed my film career in Savannah, Georgia. I went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. They are a university now, and really cool. So, you know, hold on a second. I'm going into like a random courtyard in my neighborhood. I don't know what this business is, but they have a nice little courtyard. So I'll show you around it a little bit and keep talking about my video games. Pretty nice. So sold it, went to college, blah blah blah. Didn't play too many video games there except like Rock Band when we were getting drunk with friends. That's about it. That was the extent of my thing. I came back from college in my second college, where I majored in film and television, and minored in sculpture, stuff like that. So let's see. So I come back, and I have nothing. And this is when nostalgia really hit me, guys. Like, I'm back from college. I had to do, I'm not going to go into personal stuff with finances and why I came back, but I had to come back to Philadelphia to my parents. Oh shit, windbreak. Good old PGW headquarters in Northeast Philly. Alright guys, I'm back. Alright, so we are good to go on when nostalgia hit me hardest. So I think I came back in 2012 is when I came back to Philly from Savannah, Georgia, and where I had a fairly good film career. Worked on a couple of movies, one Hollywood movie. You guys can check that out on IMDb. It's called Savannah, A River Story, I think. I know they changed the title a bit here and there, but anyway, I filmed behind the scenes on that and worked with the makeup department. Got to meet Chiwetel Ejiofor and what's his name? The guy that played Jesus in Passion of Christ. And I forgot everybody's name. But anyway, there was a lot of stars in that film. It was fun. But anyway, that's a sidetrack, and we're not going to go down that route in this story. But back to video games and how I sold them. So in about 2012, nostalgia hit me hard. I was really regretting that I sold everything. I was like, oh man, what a bummer, you know. It's, so I started to go back to flea markets. And now, mind you, flea markets have always been a part of my life. I have always gone to flea markets. Whenever I had too much stuff, I would sell stuff at flea markets. Hence the video games and stuff that I sold before college. But yeah, so I came back and I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go check out what's going on at the Columbus Farmers Market and Berlin Market and a bunch of other flea markets around Philly, which there's a lot. So look at this guy, he's rocking and rolling. Cool beans, man. Okay, me cross this crazy street. Uh-oh, that's a lot of cars coming my way. Oh my god. Okay. I know I'm kind of dragging this out a little too much, but let's see. I need to get off the road. All right, guys. Had to, it's actually warming up a little bit. The sun's out. I'm kind of happy about that. My hand's not falling off. And this street is like perfectly blocked from the wind. So let's get this show on the road, everybody. So I started going back to flea markets and buying stuff. And in 2012, I don't know, those of you who are collectors or hunters, you know that stuff was still cheap. I would pick up video games for $1. And I'm talking like good games. Like, this is when I would go to a flea market and see a boxed, what's that game that I can never remember? Earthbound. Boxed Earthbound, just sitting there on a table. One of those things that I regret not picking up. But yeah, it was $50, Earthbound. I remember it because it hurts. Oh my god, it was crazy. So yeah, I started to reaccumulate all of the video games I had. And then, as any collector will tell you, once you reaccumulate stuff that's most nostalgic, you kind of fall in love with the hunt. And that's what happened to me. I started to go to flea markets every Sunday, every Saturday, sometimes, Wednesdays, Thursdays, whenever the flea market was open. And that became a huge hobby of mine. So I would just collect. I didn't resell for about a year or two after college. Just bought up toys. When I say everything, I mean everything. Everything was a freaking $1 or less. My collection was intense. I loved it. I was not making YouTube videos. I was just in love with hunting and having the stuff I had. And I still played video games a little bit. Nothing crazy, maybe, like on the weekends. Soul Calibur 2 was always a part of my life, as long as like my friends were around. But man, I gotta tell you guys, those were the days. 2012 to about 2014. 2014 was a major date because that's when Russia invaded Ukraine. They annexed Crimea. They murdered over 100 people on the Independence Square with sniper rifles, and just a lot of murder, a lot of horrible, bloody murder. And I'm not going to go into that again. That's another topic for another day. It's very close to me, and anyway, so I stopped collecting because that was happening, and I really could care less about that aspect of my nostalgia, because my country was being invaded, my friends were being drafted. One of my friends, his arm got blown off because the Russian terrorist people put like a care package with sedatives medication. He picked it up and it was a booby trap, and yeah, it blew up in his face. Luckily he's okay, just his one whole arm got ripped off from the wrist, and his other hand is missing a couple fingers. So okay, enough. So you can imagine that having that, I would watch the news every day, all this stuff, just watched it, and could care less about games, could care less about toys. Started selling all that again to raise money to send to Ukraine, to help out people in like the right sector and different battalions that were fighting back, because Ukraine still didn't have a established military. Again, as you can tell, I can talk about that for hours. So I'm done collecting. So from about 2014 till about 2016, I started focusing more on making my art and not collecting or playing games or any of that nonsense, which was nonsense to me at the time. So those were the dead years. But I still had quite a bit of a collection, mostly in my basement in bins. Had about 10 bins worth of toys that I never looked at, that were just piled up. I had probably about 10 bins of video games also, hundreds of games, all that stuff. So I was still going to flea markets to kind of, get my mind off of things. And I would almost, in a way, mindlessly buy stuff and just kept putting it all away. And I think I started my YouTube channel just to get my mind off of all of that depressing stuff that I couldn't do much about other than send money to help them. Alright guys, so slowly but surely I started to kind of enjoy that stuff again, like the toys, because it would bring me back. The nostalgia would always bring me back, and I needed something to take my mind off of all that craziness that I just mentioned. So I started digging through my bins. I started setting up my collection room. I started to kind of have a room I could go into to get away from all of that. So that's what collecting started up for me again in 2016, 2017. I started doing YouTube, started doing hunts, started hanging out with my friends at the flea market, started selling a lot of my stuff at the flea market. So that's how those two things are connected. So I was doing great. YouTube started to pick up. I really started to get sidetracked quite well. And by the way, Ukraine is still being invaded. The eastern side is still full of Russian terrorists, and Crimea is still under Russian rule at the moment. So that's how that goes. So collecting became escapism for me, and that's what I was into. And that's the people I hung out with, people that collected, and we would just talk about memories, talk about collecting, and all that good stuff. So I know this story is coming to an end, guys, because it's 2020 now, and I got rid of most of my collection last year. So, and between 2018 and 2019, I started to look at it as not escapism, my collection, but it almost turned into my life. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with collecting, there's nothing wrong with having a room full of toys and video games. I love it. I still have some of that shit in my house. If you watch my videos, you can tell I still have a collection. I still have a couple of bins of stuff. But I kind of caught myself in the fact that my life kind of became about my collection and about nostalgia. And that room of escapism turned into my whole life being escapism. I hope that makes sense to some of you guys. I'm not trying to knock anybody down for collecting. I think it's beautiful, I think it's awesome. But just make sure that your life isn't about that. Make sure your life isn't about collecting your memories and stuff. Your memories should be in your head, not because you're looking at something. Then you just have a shit ton of false idols that you surround yourself with. That's not good. So it started to bother me that all my focus was going to that. And I was still into other stuff. I was still into going out and doing stuff. I have my girlfriend Maggie. She's been there with me during all this crap. So we've been together for 9 years now, or close to it. So, man, sorry, it's kind of rough talking about it now. But anyway, to be honest with you, that's what happens. So the story basically repeats itself. I pretty much stopped all of that. Stopped going to the market. Started making YouTube videos announcing that I'm gonna stop making flea market videos. And started going to the flea market and selling everything. I sold 95% of all my toys and everything. That's what I mean by 95. Like everything from my shed, everything from my attic, everything from my collection room, all the bins that I had. Over a period of 1 year, I would set up at the market and just sell my stuff. None of it was new stuff that I found or anything like that. Well, some of it was. If I would find stuff for like $1 and it was worth 50 bucks, I would pick it up and sell it. So I actually remember when NES Mini came out and I found a controller at Toys R Us for it. I literally bought it, took a picture of it in my car, still in a Toys R Us bag, listed it on eBay, and by the time I got home, it was sold. So I sold it for like 80 bucks or something. So that was fun. So yeah, I would do stuff like that. But anyway, so up until this whole virus thing started, I pretty much got rid of everything and made my decision to take it easy with the flea market videos, take it easy with collecting stuff, just take it easy in general, and wanted to focus more on my life, more on the people in my life, my girlfriend, just everything. Oh yeah, the park's closed. Just remembered that. So, started, once I sold everything, started to get back to focus on my art, started making art, made a ton of collages. Windbreak. Yeah, I don't know. Still working on that windbreak, but it seems to be alright. So, oh my god. Nope, still windbreak. 1 second. Holy shit! It's an awesome looking sculpture here. Hephaestus, patron god of the arts. Oh my god, 1980. Okay, how weird is that? I was born in 1980 and I'm talking right now about philosophy and art. And we have Hephaestus, patron god of the arts, here. So there you go, guys. That's, the universe tends to speak and give us signs that we need to follow. And that's what I'm into now. Materialism is not that big for me anymore. I still appreciate toys and video games, but I honestly don't even have time for video games. And that passing by is the reality. Someone's not having a good day today. So, alright, let me continue, keep talking to you guys, and bring this story to an end. Let's see, might as well walk around the baseball diamond here. I'm the only one on this field. It's awesome. This is really nice. Walking on grass. There's my super nerdy walking shoes with Superman on them. Oh yeah. Styling. Styling and styling. Alright. So this is like our local park where, parks and recreations area where Pelbano Recreation Center. There you go. They have Pee-wee baseball and football and everything happening here. Ah man, alright. Let's hope it's not gonna be too windy since I'm out on this field. Okay, so we're really getting to the end of this whole situation. So, okay, so where am I now? It's 2020. I'm kind of glad that I made all these decisions before the quarantine started, because now everybody's pretty much forced to do what I'm doing, except I'm not freaking out. Sorry, there's a lot of birds around me. Can't really tell that they're there. Hitchcock would be proud, as Adam Dugu would say. So yeah, so everybody kind of has to not be collecting now, and not be going out to flea markets or anywhere else to hunt for anything. I mean, how crazy is that? So I'm kind of thankful that I made those decisions personally by choice, and it's not really bothering me, you know. I also quit smoking cigarettes. It's been 2 solid months since I quit that. No smoking for me. Taking a break from smoking the other stuff as well. Almost 2 months on that as well. If I drink, it's rare. Usually just me and Maggie would have a couple of glasses of wine or a couple of bottles of Yingling. You know, nothing too often, maybe once every couple of weeks, something like that. So what I'm collecting now is life experiences. I'm getting back into reading. I've already recommended to you guys Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Amazing book if you want to get into certain philosophies of life. Been reading up on what's his name, Marcus Aurelius, and well, I'm not gonna say everything, but I'm into like Stoicism. I'm really starting to like appreciate not, you know, the fact that there's no reason to freak out about stuff. You know, stuff happens, stuff is gonna happen, bad stuff's gonna happen, horrific, awful stuff's gonna happen. So there really is no reason to stress over it because it is what it is, right? So that's what I'm practicing right now. It's not that easy to get into it. Man, this wind, I'm really sorry. Windbreak! Alright, it's not as bad now, so. Okay. So yeah, reading stuff, trying to make myself better. Not necessarily reading any like self-help books or anything. Not really into like weird stuff like that. Not that there's anything wrong with stuff like that, but I'd rather learn from philosophers that were learning for themselves and weren't necessarily, you know, trying to get anything for it. So they were just being rewarded by their own knowledge and the fact that they are discovering stuff in their own heads. So yeah, if I can recommend anything, it's that don't do videos in the windy field. Alright, I found a little corner here where there's no wind really, so figured I'd bring this for a landing, this whole vlog thing I'm doing. Hope you guys are enjoying it. But yeah, so right now my collecting is, where am I at with it? I have maybe 8 PlayStation 3 games. I have maybe probably the same amount of Wii U games. I still have a Game Boy. I actually have 2, one for parts, one that I play. I have about 5 games for that Game Boy. You guessed it, F1, F1 race, Super Mario Land, Kirby's Adventure, and a couple other games. But yeah, so that's what I have as far as my Game Boy goes. As far as, let's see, I have 3 games for my PlayStation. 1, I have 3 games for my PlayStation 2. I'll do a video one day about like what I still have in my collection, because I don't really want to list it all and I don't remember exactly. But I also have a Sega Genesis Mini Classic, so you know, I have that. I can't wait till this whole thing's over so I can actually you know, hack it and put a bunch of games on it. Like I said, that's what I want to do predominantly with my video games for retro consoles. I want to get the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, load all those up with my favorite games for those consoles, and just have those out, and if I really have a craving to play, that's what I play. The one console that I value the most is Sega Genesis, obviously, for Revenge of Shinobi. Yes, I have both of those, and yes, it's connected to my TV. Whenever I want to play that, I just rock that game, man. I don't know why, I just love that game. Freaking love me some Revenge of Shinobi. The music's right now just in my head, man. The shurikens and all that, love it. So yeah, so that's what I have now. Let's see, like I said earlier, The only consoles I have left are PlayStation 3, PlayStation 1, 2, Sega Genesis, Wii U, and something else. But anyway, yeah, back in the thing before I sold everything, I had 4 Nintendo NESs, I had 1 Super NES, I had about 10 N64s, I had 4 Xboxes, I had about 10 PlayStation 2s. All this was just stocked in my basement. That's all the stuff I was selling. On top of all sorts of other consoles, which at one point I had set up in my room. I had all of them out. It was beautiful. If you guys have time, go to my playlists and check out my collection, basically, playlist. So it's a bunch of videos that I made throughout the years with my collections that I had, and you know. So yeah, so that's about it, guys. Right now, I'm not really a gamer. Like I said, what I play is Shinobi if I really want to. I'll play Yarn Yoshi on the Wii U with Maggie. I'm one of those people that loves Star Fox Zero. I play that on the Wii U all the time. Once you get used to the controllers, it's not a big deal. Everyone needs to shut up. Once you get used to it, it's just fine. Like, chill. Oh my god! Anyway. So yeah, so that's what I play now. I play like on my phone here. I'll play like shoot 'em ups, you know, planes, or spaceships, just shooting things, you know, like Truxton. So yeah, I do have quite a bit of knowledge of retro games. I love them, you know. I just don't want to have shelves and shelves of it. It's not something I want. Just because I love video games doesn't mean I have to have a room full of them. And I really don't care about proving myself to anyone. I really don't care about like what the gaming community thinks of me or the toy collecting community thinks of me. You know, in the end, all of these collections are for us, man. Like, there's so many collectors I know that collect to impress others. Like, they'll have video games that they don't play or never even played. They just watch like Angry Video Game Nerd, you know, play them or review it, and they're like, oh, I gotta have that game because I saw it on AVGN. Man, shut up. I'll backhand you. Like, again, there's nothing wrong with collecting. There's nothing wrong with completionists. There's nothing wrong with a room full of video games. If it makes you happy and you're collecting for yourself, if you're collecting for yourself, that's beautiful, man. And I'm gonna be impressed with your video games because you can tell me about them. You can tell me that you played them. Or you're just trying to get a full collection of NES or Super NES because you love that console. That's beautiful, man. But people that just hoard shit, I can't get behind you guys. I don't like shelf collectors that just collect to like for YouTube, you know. They'll just show off what they have, and they have no passion behind it. They're just like, look at all this, look at this stuff, I bought it all with money. Like, who cares, man? You know, eat a bag of D's, you know. So yeah, hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about. I'm not knocking collectors, I'm not knocking any. I'm a collector. I've been a collector since I was a kid. I just explained myself to you guys. Toys, video games, I collected all of that. I collect VHS tapes. Well, I used to collect. I now just have like 20 VHS tapes left. I collect movies. I'm a movie buff. I'm a filmmaker. That's what I love all those things. But I just came to a realization that I don't need to have tons of this stuff. Just because I enjoy the movie doesn't mean I have to have a Blu-ray of it. You know, unless it's a movie that I'm going to watch a bunch of times, there's no reason to watch it. And, you know, speaking of AVGN, like, when he did a thing where he compared DVDs to Blu-rays, like, you know, what's the point of having all that if you can just go on a streaming service on Netflix or any of those other ones and just watch that movie there? You don't have to like look for it and pull it out and put it in, you know, unless you got the DVD or something for the special features, and that's a good reason to have that. So, you know, have a reason for it. So anyway, if it makes you happy, collect it. If it makes you happy to have a room full of this stuff, do it. I love that. I have friends that have rooms full of this stuff, and I love going there, checking that stuff out. I had room full of stuff my entire life. I was one of those guys, and for the most part, my collecting reasons were nostalgia, and that's why I kept things, you know, and looked at them, and they made me happy, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, Earthworm Jim or whatever, you know, like, all that stuff sparks something inside you that makes you feel good. But it has to be for the right reason. So anyway, collect what you love, man. If it makes you happy, do it. I am not condemning anyone, just as long as you're true to yourself and, you know, you're a good person, I guess. That's another thing I'm going to talk about in some other video, again, about people at flea markets or resellers or vulture collectors that stab each other in the back, that trample over their friends just so they could get a better deal, or, you know, like, swipe things under their friend's nose just to be like, oh, I got that first, you know, like, and not doing it as a joke or anything. They're literally being serious by stabbing you in the back to get something so that you don't get it, you know. So I'll do that video next time, or at some point, I don't know. I might not even do it at all. But yeah, hopefully I didn't leave anything out. I'm sure this video, I don't even know, it's probably over an hour long. This walk was long. So I'm gonna get back to the house, make some lunch for me and Maggie. She's working from home today for obvious reasons, but she's done at 1 o'clock, so gonna probably make some pizza and have some beers for a change. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. I think whoever's watching this all the way through the end, thank you for watching this. Those of you that were just listening, thank you for just straight up listening to this as a podcast or whatever. I'm still so stoked about this guy. Freaking Hephaestus. Freaking god of the arts, man. Love it. So yeah, guys, do whatever makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting other people. And that's pretty much all I can tell you to walk away with this. I hope you enjoyed my collecting video games story, or history, I should say. I hope it was interesting and enticing. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. So as I always say, live long and prosper. You know, love one another, help each other out with collecting, especially during this time. Trade with each other, you know. If you have friends that are of the same like-mindedness, trade with each other, man. Maybe they have something they don't want, and maybe you have something they want, and, you know, that's how trading goes. But yeah, enough of that. Enough of unsolicited advice. Alright, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Love you all. Be good.